All right, so ChatGPT. It's been everywhere online lately, and I bet you're wondering what all the fuss is about.
Yeah, it's definitely been making the rounds.
So someone sent in this article from Search Engine Journal, and we figured, why not do a deep dive on this whole ChatGPT thing? Figure out, what it is, what it can do, and I guess equally important, what it can't do.
Right, get to the bottom of it.
Exactly. And we're even gonna, tackle the big question, like, could this change how we search online, like, forever?
It's a pretty big question, and yeah, a lot of people are thinking about that and wondering.
So first things first, what is this ChatGPT thing anyway?
Right.
I mean, people keep calling it a chatbot, but it seems like so much more advanced than those like basic customer service bots we always run into.
Oh, for sure. It's definitely not your average
Well,
chatbot. Yeah, ChatGPT is what they call a large language model chatbot.
okay, a large language model chatbot.
Yeah, so basically imagine like having a conversation with a computer, but it actually feels like you're talking to another person. Like that's what they're trying to do here.
Huh. So it's like super realistic.
Yeah, exactly. And the large language model part is what makes it so powerful, I guess you could say.
Okay, I'm listening.
So these models are trained on like massive amounts of data,
Mm.
right? And they learn to predict what word comes next in a sentence.
So it's like predictive text, but on a much grander scale?
It's kind of like well, it's like if you started typing something on your phone and it not only predicted the next word, but like the entire paragraph, or even like wrote a whole story based on just those few words you typed.
Whoa, hold on. Even with all that data, how does it sound so human, though?
Right. Yeah.
Because usually those language models sound kind of robotic, right?
Yeah, that's true. But ChatGPT has this, I guess you could call it a secret weapon.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
They call it reinforcement learning with human feedback.
Reinforcement learning with human feedback.
Yeah. So basically, it's like they had a team of coaches training ChatGPT on how to respond in a way that sounds natural to us humans.
Huh. So it's not just spitting out words that are statistically likely to come next. It's actually trying to understand what we mean and respond in a way that makes sense.
Exactly. Yeah. Like they actually had humans teaching it to be less of a robot and more like I guess, like a clever conversationalist, you know?
Wow, that's really impressive. And it almost makes it sound like ChatGPT can actually understand us.
And in a way, it kind of does. I mean, it can even pick up on parts of a question that don't make sense and like point them out,
Oh, really?
which is something you don't usually see in AI.
Oh, yeah.
That's a pretty big deal.
Okay, color me impressed. So who are the masterminds behind this thing?
Good question.
It sounds almost too good to be true.
Yeah, well, the folks behind ChatGPT are a company called OpenAI, and they've been doing some really cool stuff with AI lately. You might remember them from that AI image generator, Daily.
Oh, yeah, I remember that you could type in like a crazy description and it would create a picture of it.
Yeah, like a cat wearing a top hat riding a unicycle on the moon or something, and it would make this like amazingly realistic image.
It was wild.
Yeah, so they got some serious AI talent over there, including their CEO, Sam Altman. And get this, Microsoft invested $1 billion in this technology.
$1 billion with a B.
Yeah, they must see some serious potential there.
That's insane. Okay, so we've got OpenAI with their super smart AI people and $1 billion from Microsoft. But what can this thing actually do? Like, what's all the hype about?
Well, chatting is just the beginning. I mean, the really amazing thing about ChatGPT is how versatile it is.
Okay, so there's more to it than just chatting.
Oh, yeah, we're talking like writing different kinds of creative content, like poems, code scripts, even music. And it can even adapt to different writing styles.
Hold on, are you serious?
Yeah, it's crazy, right? Like
Yeah.
imagine you could ask it to write you a short story, but like in the style of Ernest Hemingway, or like whip up an outline for an article you need to write.
Yeah, that's mind-blowing.
Yeah, can handle all sorts of stuff like that.
That's like having a personal AI assistant that can write anything you can imagine.
It's pretty close.
But it can't be that easy, right? Like, there's got to be some limitations.
Yeah, you're right to be a little skeptical. It's not quite a magic genie in a bottle. Yeah, it's not perfect. It definitely has its limits, for sure. One thing to remember is that the quality of what it gives you kind of depends on what you ask it.
So it's like you can't just ask any random question and expect a brilliant answer.
Pretty much, yeah. It's more like working with a really talented intern.
Yeah.
They've got the potential, but you got to give them good instructions.
Oh, I see. So you have to be specific.
Exactly. Yeah, and that brings up another point. Accuracy. Can you really trust that everything ChatGPT tells you is actually true?
That's a really good question. I mean, it sounds so convincing.
Right. Well, ChatGPT is programmed to avoid giving, harmful or offensive answers. But that doesn't mean it's always going to be right. Sometimes it can give you answers that sound totally believable, but are actually wrong or just nonsensical.
So it's like that friend who always sounds super confident even when they have no idea what they're talking about.
Exactly. And that's why it's so important to use your own judgment and critical thinking skills. Don't just take everything ChatGPT says at face value. Double check things, especially if it's something important.
Makes sense. It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of this new technology and forget to be a little skeptical. Speaking of skepticism, didn't I hear something about ChatGPT causing some problems on a coding website?
Oh, yeah, that was an interesting story. So apparently Stack Overflow, which is this website where programmers go to get help with coding, got flooded with answers generated by ChatGPT.
Oh, no, really?
Yeah, and the crazy part is a lot of those answers looked totally right at first glance, but they were actually wrong.
Yeah, so even the experts were fooled.
It was a big mess.
Yeah.
The moderators over there had a tough time trying to weed out all the misinformation.
That's kind of scary. It really shows you that we can't just blindly trust anything we see online, even if it looks legit.
Absolutely. It's a good reminder that AI, at least for now, isn't perfect.
Mm.
It can make mistakes, and those mistakes can have consequences in the real world.
It makes you wonder what happens if this technology gets even more advanced? Like, what if it becomes almost impossible to tell the difference between something written by a human and something generated by AI?
That's a really big question and something a lot of people are worried about.
Hmm.
I mean, imagine a world where you can't be sure if the news article you're reading was written by a journalist or an AI, or if that research paper is based on real data or just made up stuff.
That's like something out of a sci-fi movie and not a good one.
Right. It's definitely unsettling, and it shows how important it is that we start figuring out ways to verify information in this new AI world.
Yeah, we need to be able to tell what's real and what's not. So we've talked about ChatGPT's capabilities and some of its limitations, but where does this all fit in with the bigger picture? Could AI chatbots like this actually replace search engines like Google one day?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Remember Google's own AI chatbot, LaMDA? There was even that whole controversy when one of Google's engineers thought it had become sentient.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. That was crazy.
Right? It was all over the news. And it just goes to show how fast AI is developing. It makes you wonder, could we get to a point where instead of typing keywords into Google, we're having conversations with AI assistants to find information?
Hmm. It's definitely an interesting thought. I mean, getting a direct answer to your question does sound a lot easier than scrolling through pages of search results.
It definitely streamlines things, but it also brings up new problems. Like, how do you make sure the information you're getting is unbiased and accurate? And how do you stop these AI assistants from being used to spread misinformation?
Those are really important questions. It seems like there's a lot to think about here. I bet people have some pretty strong opinions about this whole thing.
You're definitely right. Some people are really excited about the potential of AI to change how we find information, while others are a lot more cautious. They worry about things like people losing their jobs, the spread of fake news, and the overall impact on society.
That makes sense. It's like any new technology, there's always a mix of excitement and fear.
Mhm.
Like, remember when the internet first became a big thing? Some people saw it as this amazing tool to connect the world, while others were scared it would isolate us and ruin our privacy.
That's a great comparison. And just like with the internet, the impact of AI will depend on how we use it.
Right. So, for those of us who are curious to try out this new world of AI, where do we go to find ChatGPT? Can anyone use it? It is. And the best part is it's totally free right now. They're calling it a research preview, which basically means OpenAI wants like everyone to try it out and, mess around with it and give them feedback so they can improve it.
It's like a giant beta test for the future of AI.
I like that. And they're even doing this contest thing where you can win credits for ChatGPT by rating responses and giving feedback.
Right. They're really going all out to get people involved.
That's cool. It makes it feel like we're all part of this together, like shaping this technology. But before we all run off to play with ChatGPT, I want to go back to those limitations we were talking about earlier. You mentioned that it can sometimes give like wrong answers. Do you have any examples that show why we should be careful?
Oh, yeah. There was this tweet going around where someone asked ChatGPT to calculate the distance light travels in a year.
Okay.
And you'd think that would be a simple answer, right? Like a light year.
Yeah, duh.
But instead of just giving the obvious answer, ChatGPT went off on this super long explanation about measuring the speed of light and different units of time. And in the end, it gave a totally wrong answer.
Wait, seriously. So even with a simple question like that, it can mess up.
And the thing is, the answer sounded really scientific and convincing. Like if you didn't know anything about light years, you'd probably believe it.
That's kind of scary. It's like all those warnings about misinformation online, except now AI can make it even worse.
It's a real concern, and it just shows how important it is to be able to think critically and Question what you see online, whether it's an article, a video, or even a response from an AI chatbot.
So for those of us who are excited to try out ChatGPT, like to learn new things or explore creative ideas or just see what all the fuss is about, do you have any tips for using it responsibly and effectively?
I'd say the most important thing is to approach it with a sense of curiosity and a willingness to experiment. Don't be afraid to ask different kinds of questions and see what it can do and even push its limits a little bit.
So be curious, be experimental.
Exactly. And remember, it's still being developed, so don't expect it to be perfect. Just have fun with it and, learn as you go.
Got it. And you said before, don't believe everything it says.
Right. Be critical, double check information, especially if it's something important. And don't forget it's a tool, not a replacement for your own thinking.
Great advice. It sounds like ChatGPT can be an amazing tool if we use it wisely and responsibly. It's like having a superpower, but, with great power comes great responsibility.
I like that analogy. And if we think about the bigger picture, we're really at a turning point in how we interact with information. AI tools like ChatGPT are changing what's possible, and it's up to us to use them for good.
That's a really powerful thought to end on. So, to all you listeners out there, I definitely encourage you to check out ChatGPT, see what it can do, explore its potential, but always remember to think critically and use your best judgment. You might just discover something amazing.
And who knows, you might even help shape the future of AI.
Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
See you later.